Hello, this is Matt Singleton, founder of Bible Smack Ministries, and I'm giving a response to a vlog by John Piper and Desiring God Ministries regarding the fact that he's having Rick Warren as one of his featured speakers for the 2010 Desiring God Conference. Essentially, a lot of John Piper's audience is very conservative, most of whom are Calvinist and in theology, Reformed theologians and stuff. So a lot of people in more conservative and more deeply theological circles have been concerned about Rick Warren, some of his teachings, and sometimes the lack thereof. So in this vlog, Piper is trying to get people to get into Rick Warren and to be positive about it. Now, essentially, Rick Warren is extremely popular. He's got some of the best-selling books, and he also is known by secular circles as America's pastor, also the new Billy Graham. And so when we look at Rick Warren, we have somebody of a huge popularity, but I think a lot of people have noticed a lot of issues. So here Piper tries to give this defense. He talks about how Rick Warren has many positive contributions and positive beliefs, but a lot of them are very misleading. He says that Rick Warren believes in church discipline. Well, one of the members of Rick Warren's church is Rupert Murdoch, who is probably most famous for being the owner of Fox News, but also he is the owner of several pornography channels. And he has, never repented of that, and Warren has never disciplined him. I don't know if this has something to do with certain $1 million donations that he had to what we call the Peace Plan missionary activity. Now, also, Rick Warren claims, Piper claims that Rick Warren believes that the emergent church is nothing but Rauschenbusch social gospel. So as a result of that, he says, well, he has nothing to do with that. But yet, his peace plan, this mission movement that he had, was one where they donated several $1 million with some of Rupert Murdoch's money to Rwanda, a struggling African nation, and with the poverty, it ruined the economy, and terrorists took over and things of that nature. To start off the push for it, they played the song by John Lennon, Imagine, which includes atheistic beliefs like, imagine no hell above us, no hell below us, and above us only sky. So essentially, a lot of Rick Warren stuff matches up with the emergent movement. And when I was working on my master's degree, we had several people who were promoting the emergent church, and they used several quotes from Rick Warren endorsing this and endorsing several key players in the emergent church movement. Piper himself is very antagonistic towards the emergent church movement, and yet he also hangs out with a fellow named Mark Driscoll, who is an emergent church preacher, who says that he's theologically conservative and socially liberal. I'd have concerns with anybody who's socially liberal, somebody who believes in the abortion of babies and open drinking. And Driscoll in his church, has people watch rated R movies with swearing and nudity and gore and violence, in a place that's supposed to be holy. So, essentially what Piper's going to do is he's arguing about how we shouldn't separate, and we shouldn't separate over secondary issues, and how, these guys are closely aligned. He says that Rick Warren is not political. That's a bunch of bunk. I mean, look at it this way. Not only does he have, politicians who've come to speak at Saddleback, like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, and then he had the interview with Obama, and the interview with McCain. But also, he is aligned with many high and powerful figures. He's a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. He's also a member of a group in Britain that is the alternative of the Council on Foreign Relations, which is a globalist group that wants to bring about a new world order and a one world government. But also, Warren has been caught as a flat-out, full-on liar. He had many videos where he did get politically active, and he encouraged people to vote on Proposition 8 for traditional marriage, which I agree with, I like. But then he goes on Larry King several months later when people ask him about it, and he says he never did it. Well, that's a lie. There's video, there's recordings, there's printings, everything that says that this is exactly what he did. And he says that he's a man of God, and he comes out to the nation and lies. So no, these are not issues to separate over. Well, the thing is that a lot of people don't realize that, John Piper has some corruption too. And there are some issues that I would separate with John Piper over, and they're not just secondary issues. John Piper, on one hand, may write a book about justification by grace through faith alone, but then he writes another book, Future Grace. And I'm going to be, I'm writing a blog about this on www.biblesmack.blogspot.com, and that should be out soon. It's a 24-page article. But let me quote this for you really quick. This is in page 197, page 197 of Future Grace. It says this: if faith in future grace means believing the promises of God, how is it that those promises could be believed and yet the believer not be saved? This possibility is implied, okay, pay attention to that, in Matthew 7:21 through 23. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name cast out demons, and in your name perform many miracles? And then I will declare to them, I never knew you, depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. These folks believed, this is back to John Piper, these folks believed that they were secure, otherwise they would not have been so stunned at Jesus' rejection. They knew Christian teaching and read the Bible promises like, I will never leave you nor forsake you, Hebrews 13:5. They believed them, or so it seems. Now, this is a denial of the biblical doctrine of assurance of salvation, and it is pathetic, warped, and perverted exegesis. First of all, the people talked about who believe the promises of God, the believers, they say, Lord, Lord, okay, talk about lordship. They say, Lord, Lord, and it says, we perform many miracles, and we prophesied, we did all these works. So in other words, this is a legalistic group. It is not a group that's claiming faith alone. And it's very obvious that it's not, that these people are not believing that at all. And so, according to John Piper, just because you believe in Jesus does not mean you're saved. As a denial of the biblical doctrine of assurance of salvation. And for that reason, I would say you ought to separate from John Piper. Essentially,